right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to some more NASCAR Racing 1. We are live and going here. Let me just make sure, get my stream set up here so we're already rolling so I know if we have any issues, because it does happen sometimes. We have 3 races left in the season, which has been a season of struggling, but it's fine. 100% 100% AI with 15% race length. Running NASCAR Racing 1 with a modded roster, but not anything else. Modded tracks, not modded tracks, just tracks that weren't in the game to make the full schedule for 94. And I mean, we've been all right on speed for some races, but the AI is really hard to race with. And other races we've just been slow. But default setups, if you haven't been here, we just run the ace everywhere. But yeah, so 3 races left. We're gonna run those out, finish up the season, and then I'm gonna swap a file or two. Oh, I forgot to. You know what? I gotta get the Moses screen up. Remind me later to do that. Let's get that lined up. Okay, that's how I like that set up there, so that you can see the throttle trace. Granted, this window seems smaller than usual for some reason. Oh, because I didn't have the bar up top. Well, no, it does seem smaller for some reason. Oh well. Anyway. Oh, you know what? I could. You know what? I'm not worried about it. I'll do that offline if I feel like it. Although any other game, we should be in a different resolution anyway, so it wouldn't be this setup. But we're going to go ahead and get rolling. My screen a little better centered on the wheel, which is odd because what you're seeing is not me cropping and moving it over. I'm actually... this is my main monitor. Like what's around me on screen here is my main monitor. So the whole gap to the Moza board and everything, it's just my main screen. So what I'm saying is my window, I have the NASCAR 1 offset to the left of the screen, so I move the monitor over to line it up with the wheel. But that's just because this runs in a square resolution, so it's going to be offset anyway for me. So I figured I might as well set it up so it's just laid out how I want. There's less stuff I have to do in that on my other monitor in Streamlabs. We're dead last. Wait, wait, what? Oh wait, do I still have the AI cranked up? Probably. That's right, because we cranked it up for my god, they do 177 average miles an hour at 120%. That almost makes me, you know what, if we have some time, maybe I'll load up Rockingham, crank the AI up just to see how ridiculous their lines are. But yeah, we went to Talladega with the plates off, and to make the AI be a competent pace, we cranked them up to 120%, which made them, if I remember right, a pretty competent pace. Alright, so now, okay, a 144 speed, not time, would put us further up the board than last. So we wouldn't have been last with that last run. Let's see if I can somewhat match that. I feel like I'm still offset. I need to move my wheel over. I'm offset versus my pedals here a little bit, and it's awkward. I actually drove a 42 Ford race car, like 1942 Ford vintage car, race car, at a couple of events, and the pedals, or sorry, the seat versus the wheel and pedals is offset, and that was so weird. I forget what I think the seat was more towards the center of the vehicle. So the wheel, I didn't go 144, I went a little slower. So the wheel was like to my left and the pedals were to my left a little bit versus the seat, and it was really weird. I mean, you get used to it, like, and you forget about that stuff when you're driving. but you know, then you slow down a little bit, or you have a yellow, or you finish the race and you're like, this is so weird. You still, as much as you got used to it in the moment, you're still like, you come back to reality a bit and realize like, why is the wheel being offset is like so odd and whatever. So oh god, they just put fam on the back of, is that what it said always, or is that just to fit in this resolution in this game? They couldn't put the word family very clearly. They probably could have. So I don't remember it ever just saying fam on the back of the family channel car. Oh gosh. Okay. All right, it's fine. We do early race restarts because the cold tire looseness and the AI, how they act when they're all bunched up, is not always kosher. Oh, I forgot Rockingham's a long race. 73 laps to go. Right out of, or just total, I guess. Oh gosh, the looseness out of 2. I almost got it. I almost bit it again in the same spot with the same driver. It's a lap or 2, and then the tires will come in, and it will be all right. Also, my camera's a little. That should be. Oh gosh, they're lifting. We're good. Oh. Man, if I had a wheel as a kid, and I had this game right when it came out, like before, I guess I was too. Well, yeah, I was too young. Never mind. I was gonna say if this is all I had, I would have played it so much anyway. But I played NASCAR 2 so much anyway. What the heck was... Okay, hold on. Where's my pause button? That's not the pause button. One of the games, the pause key is actually your pause button. In this game, it's just the letter P. Way ahead of us there, is that Warden, the 31? Decided to pit, and I was looking at him doing this, retiring from the race, and everybody slowed up when he cut low. They checked up. And I should have already been checking up, but I wasn't. Oh, I ran right into fam. All right, but we're fine, so I'm going to keep going. But that was weird. By Dick Trickle here. Well, not if I get loose out of 4. Hey, Ian. Last one today. Last time for NASCAR 1. I know, I probably should have just thrown it out when we were struggling so bad in the points. I didn't want to... You know what? Honestly, I didn't want to fudge the experience any. I just wanted to give, like... This is what the game is. Hard or not, you know. Try it with a modern wheel. And just play it. Rather than like, oh, you know, just... work on custom setups, restart races, make sure we win, you know, a bunch and whatever. I just wanted to have fun with it and give you the true experience. Default setups, not spending any time on it. 100% AI, which I do think is too high for default setups at almost all the tracks. Our exceptions being Martinsville and Watkins Glen for sure, and there's probably a couple others that we wrecked up front. And then there's plenty we ran dead last or darn near it. I know Darlington we were slow. Well, actually the second Darlington we were slow. The first one I think we actually had okay pace for some of it, which doesn't make any sense unless I was just inconsistent. And then was it Dover that our tire wear was bad, or was Dover good? I don't remember now. There's plenty of files for that. Actually, somebody made a tool, Ian, that I just saw it on Reddit today. I don't know whether it was just posted today, but there's an NR03 subreddit, and somebody posted a tool they made that's like a schedule maker assistant type thing, and what it does is like you either pick a year. I don't know exactly. You either pick a year or you set up what you want the schedule to be, and it'll set the schedule up for you, or if you're missing track files, it'll highlight them and tell you what you're missing. and then it will offer an optional, like, replace this track with a different one if you don't, oh gosh, if you don't download it, we're dead. We're dead. We're not dead. No, now we're dead. Oh, we're very, I mean, we're still running, but we're destroyed. I guess we'll do one more restart, but I want to see that. That was pretty ugly. I got sideways going into the corner there. And then I overcorrected to the right way too hard, and pop, Loy Allen. Oh, the 43, I saw the 43, like, he kind of started to swing left, and I jerked the wheel left, thinking he was going to come down, and then he stopped coming down right when I did that, and I got too sideways doing it. If that doesn't tell you how sensitive these things are to input, then I don't know what will. Because I think that's a good example. That's cool, dude. Hey, honestly, streams are perfect to put on when you're doing that kind of messing around or work or whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, we're gonna be loose on new tires, and Steve Grissom's just gonna put us in the wall. That's fine, Steve. I'll barrel it in on the outside, try to get some heat in my tires fast, and then pass you in a couple laps. Oh god, almost got turned by Mayfield. Ah, okay. I mean, the thing is, I'm pretty sure, other than a couple of, like, tracks from the past couple of years, I'm pretty sure all the tracks you would need have been made for NR03 a long time ago. Especially because you said 2007. NR03 was still being modded pretty thoroughly through till iRacing's release. That's the only time it really actually slowed down, and iRacing didn't come out till 08, so... or not publicly anyway. I mean, they had like some of the testing when they were still called First, by the way. There's a fun fact for anyone who doesn't know, is that iRacing was called First Racing, or just First, I think. One of the two. Or at least that was, I guess that was their beta title, or whatever you want to call it. Although I think they had logos and everything. Like, I think that they had that as their public-facing name for a while. But to be fair, Googling First or First Racing isn't going to give you anything that's, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to take you to the property. So changing the name to iRacing, or at least anything unique, was a good idea. So I'm all for that back in the day. All right, well, we're up to 27th pretty quickly here. The they're pretty slow holding each other up. We'll see how that plays out once they spread out a little bit. Because they check up a lot down the front here. For a second, I thought I saw glowing brake rotors on the car we were passing, but there's actually a little bit of red in the wheel texture. Like the strip, or stripe, whatever you want to call it. Some years that was yellow, some years that was red. In the early 90s, late 80s. I only know that it was both yellow and red because of old templates I was trying to use to make the stuff for Thunder 04 for the time period. Oh gosh, Mast, you stopped going into 3. I will try to read that when I have a moment. You guys keep parking it on the bottom lane. I'm afraid to exit on somebody's outside though, unless we're definitely alongside them, or if they leave it open like that and we're sure about it. Okay, we're clear of Rick Mast. One skull car to the next. Harry's guy thought he was going to shut the door. Oh, that's fair. I mean, there's plenty of good tracks that have come out since then too. I mean, I haven't checked any of the NR03 modded stuff beyond when iRacing started, to be fair, but I know there was definitely more and more over the years. There was a brief window though when, like, like, because they made the Truck Series physics, and I think the Bush Series physics too. Yeah, there were alternate physics edits in some of the mod stuff, and then iRacing or First or whatever you want to call it was like, hey, legally you guys need to stop doing this. Um, so that kind of, and then everyone was afraid, like tiptoed around modding because it's like, well, should we do anything? I don't want to get in trouble, and like, you know, what's the new game? Do I want to spend time modding this if there's going to be something new coming to mod potentially? So they kind of, everybody tiptoed for a little while there, and then they realized like, oh, okay, as long as we don't do new physics, we're good. So then most of the mods that came out thereafter picked the truck physics over the cup physics, just because other than maybe some of the cup series mods, but like any of the historic mods, the truck series physics were closer speed wise and everything else. I think most people just preferred the feel of the trucks. I haven't played that in so long though. That'll be a fun revisit if and when we get to it. Oh, there's gonna be a long time, I'm sure. Unless the channel gets more popular or something, then sooner, then maybe I'll get to it quicker. But I don't expect any of that to happen, and I don't, you know, it's fine if it doesn't. I'm not sweating it. We are storming through this field, and I literally... That bud's for you. Go. Didn't mean to. He parked it into 3 like Mass did a few laps ago. I thought he was going to cut to the bottom rather than parking it up top and then cutting. Although actually, I don't even know that he was going to go to the bottom at all. We are bulldozing our way to the front. We're finally fast for once. We were slow in qualifying though. Are there new physics now? Is somebody even making new physics on NR03 and not getting in trouble? I didn't know that. I mean, there's a way you can kind of fudge it, which is when you make the tracks, you can change the track grip levels and things to make the cars feel different, but there's only so much you could do with that. That's half the equation. Or I would say actually a little less than half the equation. Although I wonder, because I've never done any track making or any of that. I messed around with one of the tools for it years and years ago, but I don't know, it was a little above my passion, I would say. It was a little out of my range of interest at the moment, so I didn't really look into it. But I wonder if there's like even part of the track settings. Oh my gosh, sorry for the loud dog in the background. But I wonder if there was in the track settings, if there was like stuff like air density or drag rates or, you know, any of that with like that is part of the track file that you could change. I doubt it, but I feel like that's probably something that's a little more just hard-coded in general. But an argument could be made that tracks at different elevations could have different values for that, so, you know, depending on how sim they went with it, that could be something they modeled. Alright, Jeff's just gonna let us go here, jeez. Okay, maybe not let us go, but he gave us the bottom. I saw somebody's doing a whole like recomp or whatever, or remaking it from the ground up or something, which I don't understand exactly what they're trying to do or what they're saying they're doing. That one's gonna be sketch on the legal side, I'm sure. But it's just whether iRacing wants to do anything about it or not is really, you know, it's just like, I don't know. I think Pokemon's a good example of, like, you look at all the modded versions of Pokemon that have come out over the years, and it's just whether Pokemon pursues them or not. And 9 times out of 10, even if they pursue it, they just like kind of give a cease and desist warning, and that's usually the end of it. Although other companies, it's weird. Some companies only care if you're trying to make money off it. Then they're like, yeah, no, that's definitely not allowed. And they don't. But if you're not making money off it, they don't care. But there's also so many indirect ways to make money. Like I can't charge for my Thunder 04 modding stuff, but in my video descriptions, I have a link for donating. So that's, because I'm not asking you for money for the product. It's not directly for the product. It's not, I'm not requiring it for the purchased. So it's like a tip. Like, when you go to a restaurant and you pay for food, it's like the food, you're not saying a tip is mandatory in order for them to get the food. So if the food was free and tipping was optional, that's kind of the equivalent, and legally that's totally fine. And it's not even that direct, because it's not like when you download the mod, it's like, would you like to tip the mod creator? It's not like that even. So it's just in the video description, as optional as it can be. And there's been a couple people that sent some stuff, but I think most of the people that wanted to say thanks or support bought the 2D paint tool I made, which I didn't do a great job of supporting, I'll be honest, beyond the 1990 pack. Like, I made the 1990 stuff, I made the 03, well, I didn't make the 03, so I ported the actual 03 templates that the community had made to a format that the tool was good with, and the paint schemes too, because in order to port the paint schemes over the designs, I had to have a layered file and just change each layer to solid white for it to port over well. But I never really, so that means I couldn't do it for all the packs because I didn't make the paints, and I'd have to get the layered files for people. So I don't know. I could get all the templates in there, but I also try to make it so that it's pretty easy to install, or to add your own templates and your own files. So really, you could download the regular templates and throw them in there if you wanted to. Okay, maybe not easy, but doable. It's a bold move, but he gave me the lane. We got lots of laps left, so I probably shouldn't be going this aggressive. I haven't put much thought into my... I just barely started on the 92 pack for Thunder 04. But I haven't put any real thought into my what-if drivers yet. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, so the what-if drivers for 91 pack were Neil Bonnet staying in the 21 car, Dale Jarrett being in the 29 as a result of that, because that car was one he was supposed to run part-time. JD McDuffie was, that wasn't really a what-if. He ran, till he passed away, obviously, so technically he was just part of 91 naturally. I had Rob Moroso still alive, and that offset Bobby Hillen from the 20 car, and then I made the 20... Well, the 27 existed in real life, too, as a second Moroso car for a couple shows, but I just put Bobby in that. Oh, gosh. Full time. That was close. But the 92 season, so at the end of 91, I let the game, just after finishing my career mode season, I let the game simulate... I shut the cheats off. I let it simulate who would retire. And if they retire based on the game's retirement criteria and randomization, then that's when I'm going to remove all the, any of the what-if drivers from my ongoing stuff. So really, so the game, by its criteria, had JD retire, in 91, so he's actually not going to make any he's not going to be part of any of the what if stuff. But Bonnet, or no, Bonnet was the what if for 1990 as well. That was 90, not 91. And then 91, we put him in the 31 car, an extra RCR car, because technically he did that in the future anyway. Did Bonnet make any actual starts in 92? I don't think so. But I'm probably gonna, for 92, I'm probably just gonna keep him in the 31. I mean, technically Jarrett goes the 18, so I could have, if I wanted to, just put him back in the 21. But that would also be weird with the what if, because that means he was in the 21, went to the 31, and then back to the 21. So I think we're just going to keep him. Oh, there is a 31 car, though. I don't know if they're... I don't remember how many starts they made. If the 31 car that's in the pack... I either have to make Neil part-time for that to make sense, or I have to change his number again. I mean, I think 33 is open, so an argument could be made for that number. I'll have to check. Who's... I guess there's no other what-ifs for 92. It's just going to be carryover of the same one, so Moroso's still running. And they fly on the bottom through there. Either that or I struggle on the top. They slow it way down on entry, but then they fly through the center to exit. We drove from the back to the front cleanly in NASCAR 1. I guess Rockingham's one of the better tracks to race with the AI. I mean, I say that after... How many times did we restart there? If you get past the beginning of the race, and maybe if you have yellows on any restarts, then they're fine to race with here. Try to set up a corner exit rather than diving in on the entry to 3. Yeah, they're a little slow down the front stretch. That's kind of the big difference maker. For setting them up anyway. Alright, well, we're leading another race for once. Just talking about how bad the season went. Maybe we'll leapfrog some points here. And we only have one race left that we've not run, or did we run? Is there Phoenix twice on the schedule, or is Phoenix only once on the schedule? I don't remember running there, so I don't think we did, but now I'm second guessing everything. Alright, so how far back is the back of the pack? Mayfield is 14 seconds back. Yeah, they don't really spread out at most tracks here. And that partially... I know the base game they don't either on most tracks, but that could also be remedied a little bit with the driver ratings in the roster file or whatever. And I just used... like a pack that I downloaded for the 94 season, so it's whatever they were. I didn't change anything, but you could probably change that to make them spread out a little more. Problem is they're not, if you do that, you're gonna have other issues because they're not really great at passing each other at most tracks. Not all tracks. There's some tracks that they pass just fine, but most tracks, they're not good at passing each other, so if you had them spread all out, then as soon as they get to lap traffic, they're going to be holding each other up. Are we going to even... We're not even that much faster than Mayfield, it doesn't seem. I'm going to say the interesting part from here out is just to see if we can get to lap traffic or not. 28 to go. I gained 4/10 on him. I don't think that's quite enough. I mean, it's almost half a second a lap, I guess. Yeah, no, that would be enough, I think, if my brain is working on math correctly. But I have to keep the pace up. I think the what ifs though are going to get really interesting when we get to Davey and Kawicki. I have a couple ideas how I want to, like, I know how I want to handle Ernie Irvan in the 28 versus Davey staying in the 28. I know exactly how I want to handle that one. That's an easy one. But but Jeff Bodine and Kawicki, I mean, the easy out is I just make Bodine the 07. But then for Kawicki, excuse me, sponsor wise, in order to not have two Hooters cars on the track, you know, when Hooters goes to the 19 and the 11 and all the other cars, I'm going to have to give Kawicki something else. I mean, off the cuff, without putting any real thought into it, we could just put 0x back on the car and kind of roll back his old sponsor. That's kind of what I did with Neil for the 91, is we gave him Valvoline because Valvoline wasn't on a car yet, and they used to sponsor Neil in a different ride previously. But although now that I think about it, what am I going to put on Neil's car for the 92 season, because it's Valvoline's on Mark's car. I'm going to have to think about that one. I'm also debating whether with the Moroso car, do I keep the Crown sponsor with him, or do I eventually just go with his own family company of the Moroso, you know, what are they, headers, or I forget what they are, or if they're just I don't even know. I don't know what Moroso makes, but that, you know, that's been on plenty of cars as a, I think they were a Contig for a while and a tertiary sponsor for many. There's a car. I think that's Bill Elliott though, 2 laps down. I don't think that's Mayfield based on the colors. Yeah, we shouldn't be able to see Mayfield yet. Ooh, there's someone else on. Oh no, that's Marlon that's out because we wrecked him or whatever. Actually, no, did we? Marlon wasn't in our wrecks, was he? No, because we restarted, so Bill was the only one I wrecked. So Marlon just naturally DNF'd for some reason. Which is something, I think that's really funny. Modern games, if people can DNF, it doesn't say what their DNF was for. But that's also true to the real life results. It just says DNF or out or whatever. It doesn't say why. It doesn't give a reason. But back in the day, they used to give a reason on the broadcast in the real races, and this game gave, you know, it'll say electrical or maybe ignition or transmission or engine or whatever. It'll give a reason, like, or a, you know, hey, what part broke? And I'm sure it's just a random text, you know, like randomized between these text options. It'll say out here, but when we get to the results screen, it'll say why. But I don't know. I kind of miss that. I like that being a thing. I know it doesn't happen, you know, nearly as much these days as it did back then. But I still like that little detail. How big is our lead now? I haven't been paying attention at the line. I guess I could have just waited. We're up to 4 seconds on Earnhardt. He's got a second on Schrader. Yeah, top left I could see. Well, I'm sorry for making this race boring in the opposite way versus most of ours. There's Mayfield. I guess he wasn't that much further up than Bill. Oops. Let's turn 3 a little bit. So we'll see if we could get into lap traffic before it's over. It's gonna be tough. They're not that slow. I haven't mathed out the speed difference, and I haven't looked at it in the past few laps, so I don't know how much I'm gaining versus what I need to be to lap them. Oh man. But back to the potential what ifs for like Kawicki in the later seasons. Like technically, I could just put Kawicki in another Hooters car, and there could be 2 Hooters cars. That's not something that, you know, like a sponsor being on multiple cars is not something that's, you know, super abnormal. It's not common either, but it's not that weird. These days, they'll be on every car on a team, but on different weeks usually. So I mean, you know, you'll see that kind of more these days than in the past. If you put a random roster in a game like this and randomize the paints, like you're gonna have repeat sponsors on cars. But I don't think I want to do that. Like I said, I think if anything, try to do a fictional Xerox paint. You know, maybe look up a couple of Xerox ads or something in from '92 and see if, you know, riff off of that or something. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if their logo changed or any of that. It's probably the same, but I don't have enough knowledge on that to make a comment. Did Dave Marcus just drop out? It normally says pit when they're on the pits, I thought. No, I guess not. I just lapped him. He was on the backstretch pit road. By the way, for those that don't know, this Richmond had split pit roads for a long time. Or Rockingham, not Richmond. Rockingham had split pit roads for a long time. Which even as a kid, I didn't understand how Richmond didn't. Now that I say Richmond by accident, when Rockingham did. I mean, Rockingham, I think you could fit 60 cars between the 2 pits, probably more. But yeah, I don't know. I always thought that was interesting. Oh, Darrell Waltrip in the pits. Wait, are we? Don't tell me we have to pit. No, I got plenty of fuel. Well, what is happening then? Yeah, Bobby Labonte's in the pits. There's a lot of people pitting, but we don't have to pit. In this game, they're usually pretty darn good about the pit strategy. Hello, Takalish? Takalish? I don't know which way to pronounce it. It looks like Takalish, but I've been wrong before. Yeah, they're making all of them. Everybody's making green flag stops. That's weird. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, Bobby Labonte with the worst merge of all time. Richmond goated track of all time? Nah. Nah. I mean, look, I really like Richmond, and I have a soft spot for it. My only Pro Series iRacing win was Richmond, but in a last lap pass too. I only led the last lap of the race. It was pretty neat. Tackle-ish, okay. Based on attack. Cool. I don't know why they're all pitting. I'm kind of sad that they're all pitting. Because we're all good. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, they're good on the when to pit, when not to pit in this game. But hey, for once we were winning a race legit. It's gonna look like it wasn't legit by the time the race is over if everybody pits. There's only 6 laps to go though. They might not all pit. I just gotta make sure none of them collect me or check up in a weird spot. Just gonna run high here for a minute. So now we're officially in regular lap traffic. Mayfield here was the last car. Oh, I completely missed turn 1. Big time. Since it's the track that you... UGR... The track you grew up going to. Oh, okay. That cat walked on the keyboard. No, I understand that problem. The kitten, I should say. No, that's fair. Look, for me, my home track NASCAR wise is Pocono, and I think Pocono was fun to race on, terrible to watch before the repave. Now I think it's just not great in general. But um, growing up, my track was Dover. I still love Dover, but like that was, I don't know, that was the track. So good to go to in person. My favorite thing about, not my favorite thing, but one of my favorite things about Dover that is also one of my favorite things about Bristol is um, the track's small enough and that you can sit, you can get a seat in the middle of the corners, so the middle of 1 and 2 or the middle of 3 and 4, and you can look at one spot on the opposite end of the track and just let your eyes like take a different, just on focus, and peripherally you can watch the entire everything that's going on at every point of the track all at once. It's weird. It's hard to explain if you've never done that before, but it is absolutely a thing you can do at Dover and Bristol, and it is such a cool experience. We're gonna legit lap one car in this race from a last place starting spot, practically. We weren't dead last, we were close. But yeah, so 13 people, no, yeah, 13, including me, 13 people stayed out. So look at these results. All right, well, Ken Schrader, Terry Labonte, Mark Martin, no surprise. Oh, they're wrecking after, they're on the white. They're not done, and they're wrecking at Andretti and Dick Trickle wrecked on the last lap for them. That's crazy. We're gonna have to look at that. All right, let me, whoops, drop in. Yay, we won an oval. Woohoo! Look at what they do to the flagman's face. I didn't notice that when we won Watkins Glen. Did they draw it poorly and then they're like, forget that, and just erased it and like, I'll fix it later, and just forgot all about it? Or, I mean, all the people in the audience, they kind of just like, I mean, the audience, I get it, but the flagman, that seems weird to not give him a face. The mall at Dover's pretty cool. Yeah, I've actually not been in the mall. We parked at the mall parking lot. Oh god, I forgot how bad the faces are on this screen. Okay, I get why maybe they didn't do the flagman's face. Wow. All right, let's go see that Dick Trickle John Andretti crash. Oh, okay, so Dick Trickle wrecked on his own, and then, I mean, that's almost always the case in this game. They just do random self spin, and then Andretti just pow. Oh, you know what though? That was a sick 360. Look at this. Whoop. Grab a gear, go. You've been to the mall, not the track. Oh, dude, you're missing out. I'm telling you, Dover is a fantastic, whoops, racetrack to go to in person. And it sucks because they seem like they're getting shoved out by becoming the all-star race and all that stuff. All right, so the results in this one are a little weird with all the pit stops. Both Bodines in the top 10, Jarrett, Rick Mast, Ward Burton, and Jeff Burton right next to each other. Loy Allen, John Andretti, who we saw wreck at the end, is 13th. Mayfield 14th. So it took us, Earnhardt led the first 40 laps, and then we led the other 33. So it took us 40 laps to get through the field. Marlin just blew an engine. They didn't have a special other, he just had a regular DNF reason. But I was talking about that earlier, so wanted to see what he got. So there's our second win. Right near the end of the season, we get our second win here. Martinsville, the worst track? Are you kidding? Oh, well, getting to the track, I don't care. It's worth it, dude. And actually, Martinsville, I didn't have any problems getting to the track when we went there. Martinsville was pretty easy in and out. I actually think the worst one, it's not the worst one all the time, but the worst time I've had getting in and out of a track was Daytona the one year. And it was more so getting out of the track, but that's because there was supposedly a shooting on the main highway, and they had it shut down for like an unknown amount of miles from where it starts at Daytona to towards Orlando, and I was living in Orlando at the time. So like there was just not, like, I didn't know, I had to take a back way on an old highway that ran like the same length practically, but a lot windier route. Yeah, we didn't run here yet this year, that's for sure. It's only at the end of the schedule. Oh god. Did I load the ace setup? I don't remember if I did. But yeah, I had so much trouble getting out of Daytona that time. Oof, that wall out of 2 was always tough here. Almost blowing up. I gotta make sure I loaded the setup. If I qualify last and we didn't load the setup, I'll redo qualifying. It just feels a little tight. Oh my god, we qualified first! Did I load it? Because it seemed like the gearing was off. This is the first lap I've done on this track in this game. You went in the late 2000s when Johnson wrecked Gordon. Oof. Oh, hold on. I got, like, no start because I was not on the throttle when I forgot we had no pace laps and all that. Alright, 46 laps at Phoenix. We're starting on pole, though, so I don't know. This might be another boring one, but in a good way. Also, okay, Dale. You want to wreck yourself in turn 1, lap 1? Go for it. Oh, God, I'm so tight. Oh, I forgot to... I know I clicked past the screen, but I didn't pay attention to where I was in points after the last race. Why am I so tight? Also, we qualified pole with this setup. I think. Okay, Bobby. If I don't spin or lose a wheel or wreck really badly, we're going to just keep going. We're just going to keep rolling here. I don't know why the car is so tight, though. Oh, it got loose going in. That's interesting. The hill was slippery. Oh, yeah, I forget. It depends which way you come in the track as to what the hills are like. No, I think Daytona was the worst experience I had getting in and out of a track before. But it wasn't, like I said, it was a side effect. It wasn't like a, you know, it's always bad sort of deal. This is a track that prior to the repave, I know it's exciting with the repave, but prior to the repave, this is one of my favorite tracks in sim racing. But I've not gotten to any West Coast tracks. Oh my goodness. There must be a deer outside or something. I apologize for the dog barking. I can't help it. She's a noisemaker. Oh, okay. 42 to go. Dog, why are you running to me? Yo, leave the cat go. Ay, ay, ay. I feel like I'm going to burn the right front off here. So even if we are fast enough to get back up front, the right front's going to be gone. Wait, is that Earnhardt after pitting? Yeah, it is. You did it to yourself, sir. Lap 1, turn 1. Just chopped me to the apron. Oh, let's see how bad are we. Whoops. Okay, it's just getting to where it's going to be too hot. It's not there yet, but it's gonna... greatest race I've been to and most historic race I've been to. See, I'm gonna be biased as heck on these. I've got, actually, the races I've been to, I have a lot of good, like, key races. From my younger days, I would say my favorite race, and was also the most historic, was Charlotte. we went to Charlotte when Jamie McMurray substituted for Marlin and won. Got his first win in his second Cup start. And that was extra special because my aunt was a Jamie McMurray fan in the Busch Series for a couple, however long he was in the Busch Series, she was a fan of his. So on Busch Series day, we listened to his radio the whole race, pretty much. Cup Series day, I flipped between Jeff Gordon and McMurray. I was a Gordon fan, so we switched around. And yeah, so Jamie's first win, like while substituting, I was there for that. That was really cool. I also was at Daytona for Mark Martin's loss to Harvick in the Army car, in the U.S. Army car, where he should have absolutely won. But I still say, by the way, if you ever go back and watch that finish again, if the wreck behind them does not happen out of turn 4, I don't think there's any way that Harvick wins, because the bottom lane was closer. The cars behind Mark were closer to Mark than the cars behind Harvick, and they had about the same speed at that moment. So I think Mark was going to get help way before Harvick, and even if the help got there at the same time, the outside lane is way more likely to jump out of line and go for the win 3 wide than the bottom lane is, because they couldn't go below the line, the yellow line, so they're stuck in the lane they're in on the bottom. So your parents were at that one? Awesome. Yeah, that race was, I put that one more in the historic and less in the greatest race I was at, because that one got rain delayed so long, and I was working parking cars, and I told the story last stream, but I think it was last stream. But I was on my feet for 10 hours straight that day. It was absolutely insane. So that was not great for other reasons. Cat, can you not go down? Hold on. Oh gosh. Hang on. I gotta get the cat out of the place she's in. Get out of there, kid. Come on. Come on. Go. Troublemaker. Alright, I'm back. I mean, you probably could hear me way in the background. Oh, gosh, okay. Oops. I was going to say, let's take it easy getting back going here, but I took it a little too easy there. I was also at Bristol Dirt when Reddick looked like he was going to win, and Briscoe pulled the worst slide job ever and ruined the race for both of them. And then Kyle Busch came out of nowhere for that win. That race, honestly, Bristol Dirt was so many people hated on Bristol Dirt. It was such a good time. That was rain delayed like mad. And now, I'm biased because that was my wife's my now wife at the time, girlfriend's first race. Or were we engaged then? No, we weren't engaged then. That was I'm getting Martinsville mixed up with Bristol. But yeah, when we were at Bristol Dirt, we had such a good time there. That was such a great trip. So I'm biased on that one. I'm not a Kyle Busch fan. I respect his driving abilities. I feel for his family with everything that happened. Like, don't get me wrong on all that. But I was never a Kyle Busch fan. Except when he first was on his way to Cup and he was driving for Hendrick, I wasn't rooting for him, but I was giving him a fair chance. But just what he said versus what he did always rubbed me the wrong way. Especially then, later on the Truck Series when he wrecked, Hornaday right hooked under caution at Atlanta or whatever like that. Yeah, I can't root for someone like that. I can't root for someone like that is what I'm saying. Why'd you stop in the dog leg there, Rusty? Yeah, so that was another one that was big. The other Bristol races I was at on the concrete when I was younger, I was there in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think early 2000s, not late 90s. But I remember having a fantastic time, but I don't remember a single specific detail about those. So I gotta think about it if I want to figure those out. The other race I would say was historic in some ways and one of my absolute favorites. Like I've been to so many good races. Martinsville. What was it, 2 years ago? 2024 Martinsville, when Blaney won to get into the final round and then won the championship. Was that 24? Was it 23? Now my brain's all scrambled. I think it was 24. Yeah, I was a Blaney fan. I am a Blaney fan. I was a Dave Blaney fan. I'm a Ryan Blaney fan. So that was extra cool for me. I also got to meet Dave Blaney while I was standing. I was, again, another story I've told already, but during practice or qualifying, I was waiting I think it was qualifying. I was waiting behind, I had infield passes and was waiting with my wife behind Blaney's pit stall for practice and qualifying or whatever. And waiting for him to do his run, maybe get an autograph when he comes out. And I did. But while I'm standing there, I wore my Dave Blaney shirt and Ryan Blaney hat to this event. So I wanted to show not only my current support, but that I've been a Blaney fan for a long time. And I didn't realize right away, and it's funny that I didn't realize it, but Dave Blaney was standing right next to me. And I didn't realize it because I didn't look at the people next to me when I first walked up to where you're allowed to stand near the pit boxes. Because I figured Dave was either in the hauler or in the pit box or somewhere not where the public would be. But I was standing right next to him, and then I was like, I said to my wife, I'm like, holy crap, it's Dave Blaney's right here. And so I ended up asking Dave for an autograph, and it was the worst. He was more stressed than I think Ryan was about everything. He was so not himself, because Dave is friendly and everything else, and he was so intense in that moment. But he signed my shirt for me. He was still cool about it. I'll catch up on chat in a minute. My God, I'm way behind. But yeah, that was so cool. Oh gosh. Oh, there are many messages. Hang on, I'll catch up, guys. I just wanted to finish the story I was in the middle of. Okay, so Lane Sherling 99. Oh, that is making my chat scroll. That's gonna make this tough. Oh gosh. No, why did my chat scroll? I don't want it to scroll. Oh, you downloaded stuff today, couldn't get the paint schemes and driver pictures to work. Follow the video, not sure what you're doing wrong. 9 times out of 10, people put the NTO4 pack folder in the wrong spot. It's got to be PCSX2 textures, so on and so forth. So redo that part of the video where you set the path for the texture output. That's usually what people mix up. That, or in your cheat options, you have to check default paints and default roster in order to get the drivers and paints to update to the right people. Do I notice this on Magic DOS for Android work with a wheel? I don't know. I had a tough enough time getting it to work on PC. Why would you want to run it on an Android with a wheel? You'd have your tablets? That'd be weird. I couldn't tell you. Hang on. Chat keeps scrolling on me, so it's making this really hard. And same issue. Yep. Okay. No, I don't know how it works on Android. If you still have issues with the... Well, no, restarting the emulator on your computer isn't going to do anything with it. You did that multiple times, you can delete everything. Just check your folder path, Lane. I think your folder path is probably it. If you still don't get it, get in the Discord. Other people can help you there. You could share a screenshot of your settings and, like where your textures are and what your cheat screen is, and then we can narrow it down and make sure, walk you through it and help you out. Yes, I saw your message on how to get this to work on Android. I have no idea if it works on Android or not. If you don't have a computer, that makes sense. Well, why do you have a... Wait, what is your wheel for? If you don't have a computer but you have an Android, but you're asking if it works with a wheel on Android. What wheel do you have that hooks up to Android that you bought before you bought a PC? That's a lot of... Okay. But I don't know. I just try it. If it's a DOS emulator, it should work. It's just a DOS game. I don't know how smoothly it'll run. Heck, it even runs... There's one of the abandonware websites that has old video games will run this game in the browser itself. So that might be like... if it can run in a browser, I don't see why you couldn't run it on Android in a DOS emulator. I don't know how this right front's not cooking off. Other tracks, we get to the mid 220s in tire temp and the right front dies and the car gets tight. But here, I mean, it was tight to begin with here, so maybe that's why. And Morgan Shepherd running second. I mean, yeah, we wrecked Earnhardt in the first corner because he chopped us and caused some other mayhem with Bobby Labonte. But Bobby turned us and then straightened us out. Oh gosh, but I'm smoking the right front. Morgan's catching us a little bit, I think. I'm surprised that I didn't hit the wall a single time here, trying to read chat and everything. Actually, the whole field's right there. Yeah, I saw you said you don't have a computer. I get it. Pushed. No, Tech, I don't plan on making mod tools for other games. I mean, Thunder 03 has been modded already by Sledge. I'm not... I picked Thunder 04 for two main reasons. One, nobody had modded it yet. Two, when I really went back and I played the games that I thought were the best games. Dirt to Daytona, Thunder 03, 04, Chase for the Cup. I played all of those, and I'm like, which of these am I having the most fun with? And I was playing Thunder 04 casually again, and then that's when I'm like, hey, I want to look into this modding stuff, and I changed. Terry Labonte retired in my career, and somebody else took his spot, so then I changed the name to was it Vickers next, or was it Kyle Busch? Now I don't remember. But I changed the name in game, and I was like, oh, that wasn't hard to do. You know, what else can I do? And then I was like, okay, before I go down the rabbit hole, what game do I actually want to commit to modding? And I played them all, and I'm like, yeah, Thunder 04 is the one I want to mod. And nobody had modded it yet, so I thought, why not? So then it started with putting Tony Raines back in the game and Dale Earnhardt as an optional person in career mode. And that was, I just went from there. But it's, now while my knowledge is way better, while my knowledge on modding EA games or EA NASCAR games has gone way up over the time I modded 04, so it wouldn't take me the same amount of time to mod 03 as it did to mod 04 to the extent that it is now. I have no interest in doing another game. It was 2 years. I think it was June. It was May or June 2 years ago is when I started modding Thunder 04. And so far from complete because not with the actual modding and editing of data, but I still am painting cars. I'm working on the 92 pack right now. I still want to be able to play. The goal is to have Thunder 04 where you can play from 1990 to present as one continuous career where every year you change mod packs. And that's the goal. That's the main thing. So I have no interest in modding the other NASCAR games. Other people have and can, so I'm not sweating it. If we find a way, I mean, I say we, if someone else finds a way to change the car models and the tracks and the AI lines on tracks, I might dig deeper down the rabbit hole of modding Thunder 04, but even then I'm still staying with Thunder 04 because that opens everything up. How do I find a website for it? Just Google abandonware NASCAR Racing. Actually, if you probably would have to search Play NASCAR Racing 2 online, PC, DOS, whatever. Because searching just NASCAR Racing is harder to find results because it's just going to give you playing any NASCAR game online. But specifically 2 might narrow that down. Maybe add Papyrus in your search. But it run. I'll have to find it. I messed with it for a couple minutes, the online one, but it's I don't know, the browser based one. It didn't seem to run well for me, which is, I guess, to be expected. A game like this in a browser doesn't seem like it'd be super great, but it wasn't terrible if I remember right. I don't know how it would work for you though on a other device or whatever. Wait, how do I find a website for Daytona? Oh, I misunderstood your message. I thought you were asking where I found a website to play the game. Well, I didn't mod the tracks. I just downloaded them, put the folders in. But there's it actually was there's a couple of websites that still have NASCAR Racing 1 files here and there, but there's actually a Discord group that is specifically they specifically are for the Papyrus NASCAR Racing games and mods, and they have a channel for NASCAR 1, NASCAR 2, NASCAR 3, NASCAR 4, so on. And in the NASCAR 1 channel, somebody had posted a zip file with track packs and all that stuff. So I just grabbed it out of that group, and that was it. But that Discord group, what's the best way to point you to them? Ooh. AC Racing and who's the other main guy? I can't remember. My brain went dead. I think if you look up AC Racing on YouTube, you should be able to find the Discord group pretty easy through him. Or, yeah, his YouTube page. Actually, if you search NASCAR Racing Classic on the internet, I could bring the browser up after the race and give you the website quick. But NASCAR Racing Classic was AC Racing's kind of pet project of updating the NASCAR Racing, technically, I guess the 99 version to, I think he did the 99 version, not 2. I could be wrong. But they did a couple of updates and little fixes and tiny tweaks to the existing game and files, and to make it easy and work on a modern system and all that stuff. Oh gosh. And they called it NASCAR Racing Classics. So that website should have a link to the Discord somewhere. They even have a tool. I made a calendar tool for editing schedules that was really basic. It's not as fancy as the one that's on, well, for NRO3 specifically. There's one that's floating around Reddit recently that we were just talking about. I'm so glad there's only a few to go because we're eating it now. Is that Mark behind us? Yeah, it is. Mark Martin right there. Oh, you got it working. Okay, good. Well, never mind. I won't worry about it. Okay. Whew. 2 to go. You know, this race is probably the best one we've had with a close battle for the win, even though I've been dominating it since we got back to the front, but I messed up a couple corners and they were right back on me, and I missed turn 3 a little bit there. Ugh. Dude, Tack, I did so much work on getting the stats accurate. You have the control for it with the mod tool. Hang on, oh gosh, we're gonna lose this race in the last lap. Okay, maybe not. Just make turn 3 and then I'll talk about it. Okay, we're good. So I have all the stats loaded. Everything works to where you can select. He's gonna pass me on the outside. Okay. Oh no, we got the run out of the corner. Wow, that was crazy. Morgan almost got us right at the end. Oh, okay. That works, Elizabeth. But yeah, no. So Tack, you can choose in between each race, uh, the real life events that you want to apply to the stats. If you don't select an event each time and you leave it set to the season stats, then technically it still will change enough for if they're good at short tracks or speedways or whatever, the track type. But you can select the specific event from that specific year and have the driver's stats be like based on that. And you can choose how much of it's based on the season versus that particular event percentage wise. I have all those controls in the tool. And actually, by the way, I said about this guy's face being like washed out. Actually, I think it's his hat and he's looking down at the ground. I think that's what's actually depicted there, and I completely mistook that imagery. But my God, this is the best racing we've had. Heck, we almost finished side by side even for the win because Morgan sent it on the outside right in the last corner there. I thought as long as I didn't miss turn 3, we were good, but he went to the outside and picked up the speed, and he was out there, but then he got a little wide and checked out. I gave him room though. That was a pretty fun race. The stats part and the tools, the part you haven't messed with. You don't even have to mess with it. You select the races you want to run, and the tool does the work for you. That's what I spent a lot of time working on. So Dave Marcus dropped out with the gearbox. So you see how it says the reason they dropped out, not just everything else. Oh yeah, we wrecked Earnhardt in the first corner. All right, where the heck are we in? Yeah, Liz, I saw your message. You got that working. That's good. Actually, yeah, I got you. So we are officially 30th in points. Unofficially, we should be 28th because of that race that we dropped out early, just because we weren't last, but we were by ourselves and there was a lot of laps to go. So we just dropped out and gave up like 50 points. Not that it matters. We had a terrible season. So last race of the season is at Atlanta, and there's going to be one bonus thing, so stick around after the final race here. Let's load the ace setup and qualify for Atlanta, which, if I remember correctly, no, that was Charlotte. I was going to say Atlanta's really, really loose on cold tires. I mean, maybe it is. Most of the tracks in this game are pretty loose on cold tires. But I remember Charlotte especially was. What do you guys think of having the throttle trace and stuff for an old game? Like, do you think that's fun to have that on screen? Because it's not something that, like, we really had for, back in the day. Do you think that's fun to put on the stream to help fill in the screen space as well? Alright, green flag. Ooh, I braked, I could have rolled out, probably. Old Atlanta, back when it was a regular oval. This actually has a surprising amount of grip for cold tires, so this should be a solid lap. And I'm 32nd. But hey, we qualified 37th for Rockingham and won that one, so who knows. Alright, we've got 49 laps, a very unique number here for Atlanta to finish out the season. Try to hang on to top 30 in points. And maybe improve a couple spots. Honestly, I just want to survive the last race. I say early we can be a little risky. Okay, they checked up off too. Who was on the inside? Okay, well, we're restarting. My thoughts on the current day car. Ha. And stages, oh boy. I love your questions, by the way. This gives me stuff to talk about, which is great. My thoughts on the current day car. I've been pretty open about this. I am not a fan of the current car for a lot of reasons. Uh, I know Indianapolis is like the most extreme example because that track is tough to put on a good race with a stock car in general. But um, my God, did it show all of the things that suck about the current car. You know, the whole how much aero blocking you can do and people end up doing drives me nuts. Can I show you the website? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Let me hold on. Let me bring up a browser over here and all right, so the website is sites.google.com. ACNR2 is the main page. But yeah, so this isn't for NASCAR 2. This is for NASCAR Classic, which is its own install. However, the car sets and the track files should still work for whatever your install is because they work the same. But yeah, I mean, you look, he's got all the different like old school seasons in the 90s here and Busch as well. Some of the old Busch series trucks, a couple seasons. He's got super old, a couple old car sets, 1964, 73. Like there's all sorts of goodies on this site. There's also car body files, which I've never messed with these, but it just changes the visual look of the car body. So I mean, you have 60s, 80s. That's out of order though, I think. But yeah, there's all sorts of different ones. Track files are here. Actually, I don't think he has any track files. It's just about editing them. Add on some mods, sound pack, the calendar tool made by me. There's a 21st century track pack, so yeah, you could get that there. Yeah, that's about it. Just a Google site for ACNR2, and yeah, that's that. All right, back to TAC. Dude, honestly, the COT, I know a lot of people have problems with COT. My only issue with the COT was visually, it didn't look great, but I actually think, and the splitter being so important was kind of annoying. But otherwise, I don't think the COT was that bad. Hot take. I think the COT was all right. It was great for safety at a really tall cage versus the drivers as well. So even if they flipped, like, I mean, oh, speaking of historic races that I've been to in person, Edwards flipping Keselowski at Atlanta, I was there. I was sitting in the one of the dog legs, the one out of the first dog leg before the start finish line. So I was looking down track and just saw the top of Keselowski's car, and man, I thought he was dead for how much that cage was crushed. It was curled both driver and passenger side because it hit the wall on the track so weirdly. Yeah, I was really concerned when that wreck happened. That was crazy. But yeah, so anyway, original question, the new car, the current car. Yeah, it's not. Here's what I think would fix the current car. Here's the changes I would make. One, go back to tires with more sidewall, smaller rims. I was talking about this recently. But tires that actually can roll over a little bit. That gives the driver a bigger limit to push. And I know normally you're like, oh, well, if it makes it easier to drive, like normally that's a bad thing. It may be a little easier to save when you get out of shape than the current car. However, drivers will still push to whatever the limit is, they will go to it as much as they can. So, you know, you look at races in the 2000s, there were plenty of people spinning out because they hit the limit. So the tire being able to roll, that's not gonna affect that part of the racing. They're still gonna be at the limit. But so tires are more sidewall. Make the nose of the car nowhere close to sealing off to the ground. And I know people are like, oh, well, no matter what you do, they're going to get the shocks and the springs and stuff, and they're going to get it to go to the bottom. No. Cut the body, have it curl under, halfway up the tire like a street car does. Where I can stand in front of a car and see almost half of the tire or a third of the tire from the front end. Make that standard across the board, or as close to standard as you can across the board, and that will make dirty air not nearly as bad as versus clean air. It's dirty air, still dirty air, but the difference from clean air to dirty air is going to be way less with that. You're going to have way more passing with that one change. Give them the horsepower back. I know they're kind of doing this, and they're starting to do this. Let's get some of that back. When you can go to tracks like this and just run flat out or damn near close to flat out around it, you're taking the driver out of the race. You're just making it about the car handling only. And yes, car handling and car everything is super important, even when it's not the only thing that's important. But like, just put it back in the driver's hands. It's really just, oh, that was a really stupid move I just made, but it worked. The Gen 4 cars, well, early Gen 4 I think were fine. Late Gen 4, I think the only thing is what I just said about the front end, getting it off the ground. That's the only thing. Other than that, I think they were fine. And then, what was your other question? I don't remember. Oh. I think safety was the other thing for Gen 4. Well, shoot. Do we restart? We were 10 laps in. What time is it? Let's see. No, it's still early. I have a feeling I'm just gonna wreck again if we do. I don't want to keep doing restarts, but I also don't want to just ride back here in 37th. All right, we'll do one. We'll do one restart. And I'll read your other question here. Oh, stages. What's my opinion on stages? I don't know. I get why they do them. It's for commercial breaks. It's for in-person breaks to the racing. But I hate them. I'm fine. I'd be fine with stages if you don't throw the caution. If you just race it out, then I'm fine with it. The whole games of pitting at certain tracks. Like, how many times have you seen drivers pit before the stage is over because they want to have the best track position for the next stage or for the end of the race, regardless of the bonus points that they're giving up doing so? When you see people pitting out of the lead before the stage ends, you know, at tracks big enough to where they can stay on the lead lap, that's stupid. That's such a... Then you have bad design. So, I don't know. It doesn't add anything. My gosh, this is quite the gaggle of cars here. It doesn't add enough to be worth it. Like I said, I get... Oh my gosh. I get why they do it, but I just don't. If you don't throw the yellow, it's fine. I'm totally fine with it. Because that's the main issue, is that, like, going into a race, I know exactly when a caution's going to be. Everybody's going to plan their strategy around it. Everyone's going to plan their race around those cautions with backup plans for, you know, if other cautions land in other spots. And that's it. It takes so much of the fun out of it. I am totally fine with doing that in other series, maybe to mix it up. Truck Series used to have a halfway break. You know, it was something different. I mean, granted, they partially did it so that they didn't have to have live pit crews. So the truck teams didn't have to spend money on having a really good pit crew. You know, they'd have their break and change tires and whatever then under the break. You know, unless you got a flat elsewise. But at that point, you know, it was still, you were still losing spots anyway. So, I don't know. I was fine with it. Like, for trucks, it made sense. It was cost-cutting related. It was, you know, it was for good reasons. And it's Truck Series. It can be its own thing. It can be different. But I just don't think they have a place in Cup, and I don't think that they're doing what they're supposed to do. Like I said, any track where they can pit and give up the points so that they get a better track position later by not pitting under the caution for the stage is stupid. That if people are giving up the points, which are what the stages are about, then what are we doing? Are they really working? No. At that point, they're not. Even for your core ideas. So just get rid of the cautions, and it fixes itself. Yeah, okay, without the cautions, you're going to have some people make a green flag stop right after the stage end. But, like, they still have to make a green flag stop at that point. That's just evolving strategy. You had that a little bit in real life, even way back in the 90s, because there was... some of the years there was bonus money for leading at halfway. And you'd watch, and the racing, the intensity up front would pick up right before halfway. They'd race a lot harder for a minute. I mean, not that they... honestly, in my opinion, if you ever watch some of the early 90s races, they raced hard most of the race anyway. There wasn't need for stages. They raced plenty hard. Because the thing was, yeah, okay, a lot of the field got lapped because of long green flag runs. That still, as we proved at North Wilkesboro recently, that still happens today. It still would happen today. Like, that's not because of the cars and the competition level back in the 90s. That's just racing in long green flag portions. And I've been saying that for years, that, like, without stages, you'd still have a race or two where they lap all the way up to the top 10 or whatever. You know, if it goes green long enough. But my point being, they had the halfway money, and essentially stage points without a caution would have that same effect as the halfway money did, of like, hey, we need the points, we're going to race a little harder. But that said, with the current playoff system, or sorry, chase system, the difference between winning a stage and finishing second in a stage is literally just 1 point. It's not as big of a deal. So I actually think when there was a monetary bonus for halfway in the early 90s, I think that was more of a motivator for drivers than, you know, from the battle for first and second. That was more of a motivator than stage points are now. Finishing second in a stage this year is not that big. Like, it's not a bad thing. It's pretty much as good as first. So I don't know. I just think there could be a lot done there. Now, granted, at the same time, I don't think a monetary bonus today would make any difference. They're making so much, but the top drivers and teams are making enough money that, like, you know, you'd have to make the bonus something really big for it to matter. And then at that point, unless you're taking it out of the purse of the first place driver for the race, I don't think it's going to be an amount significant enough to make a difference. You know, maybe they could do an amount that much and take it out of the winner's purse or whatever. Who knows? Then you're still distributing the same amount of money, just slightly differently, and a bonus for someone performing earlier in the event. But I don't know. I don't know how else to motivate them to race hard all day. But like I said, having the yellows just makes it completely pointless. Because the only reason to wait for the stage end is if it's a track where you're going to get lapped pitting. That's literally it. All right, we are... wow, Gordon's back here too. We are up to 24th now from the back. It's a lot better than last time, reckon. I noticed last time when I wrecked that there's a certain line when you're just underneath them at a 4 and they look like they're going to track out to the wall, they stop tracking out. And that was my mistake. I slid out into them and it turned me from the right front contact. So I had a moment early in the race where I had to do that, like, or be aware of that and dodge it. So after we run this, I'm going to swap a file or two around and we're gonna do a one race championship. I'm gonna put the race length really short, and we're just gonna do the race just to see what happens when you win the championship in this game. See what that screen looks like, because I have no idea. I've never seen it for NASCAR 1. I think I've seen it for NASCAR 2. If not, if I didn't see it for NASCAR 2, then I saw it for NASCAR 99. Although, you know what? I don't think I've seen it in NASCAR 99 for the trucks or the Busch, if it's any different or if it's the same. So that'd be a curious experiment to go do. But either way, we're gonna cheese it to get the results, because to do an entire season of this with proper difficulty and proper AI and earning the championship, that's a feat. You'd have to work on some setups. You'd have to do a lot of extra stuff. I'm not going to commit that much time to this game. If the AI was better, I might, but I'm not going to commit that much time to NASCAR 1. So we're gonna cheese it to find out what that screen looks like later. Once we finish this up. Jeremy Mayfield was in the top 20 till right about now. Most of the races we've run, he's been like one of the first cars we see in the back. Well, he's going to get back into the top 20 there, getting by Hamilton. Nope, I spoke too soon. He checked up big time out of 2. This track is so good to race on in this game and in NASCAR 2. I had to lift there. Oop, okay. Oh, they all checked up. Everybody checked up. Oh gosh, Mayfield. Okay, Rick Mast is going to get by. Let's get to the bottom before Burton gets here. That threw me all off. I didn't want to make contact though. I wonder why the Skull car went from the gold stripes to the red stripes between seasons around this time. I like the gold stripes better, personally, but I don't know why they switched. I'm curious, but I'm sure it's just the actual can of the Skull Classic or whatever, they just changed it for some reason. It's probably some marketing thing that just they did some research on some nonsense and changed the color of the stripe, and now it seems like whatever more enticing to the right customers. Who knows? Oh, Mayfield. Look, you're not 20th. I'm not taking you out of the top 20. You already lost the top 20, so don't be chopping me here. By the way, I know Jeremy Mayfield has a bad reputation due to all the stuff that happened with him in NASCAR and whatever. Regardless of all that, there's a well, I would say small YouTuber, but I'm sure he's not a small YouTuber. But there's a YouTuber I stumbled upon that was running a late model class at a short track that Jeremy Mayfield also raced at, and the guy was like, at least I think he was very new to either just the late models or just racing in general. I don't remember which. But he went out, he practiced, and without his cameras around for his YouTube channel, without any of that around, he went over, or Mayfield came up to him to offer him some advice. And just to chat with him and get to know him and be like, hey, welcome to the track. Like, he was just racing in that division, and just wanted to approach the new driver and welcome him and help him out so they could all have some good races together. And then the guy asked him, hey, can I film you? I'm also doing YouTube, whatever. And that, so like, Jeremy approached him not because of the cameras, not because of the, any of that. He just approached him as like, hey, a racer at my track, I want to say hi and offer, hey, if you want advice, I can help you out. I've been racing a long time, blah, 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 whatever. Like, just, making that offer to somebody new at a track is really cool. And, with the goal of making the racing better for everybody. And, you don't want a new guy to come into a division, go out on the track, struggle, maybe start to figure it out, and then make a silly mistake and destroy their car and never race again, and now you just lost a car in the car count because that guy just didn't. If they knew a little better or knew a little more or had a little more help or advice offered to them, they probably wouldn't have either torn it up at all or nearly as bad. And then, or even if they did, they'd maybe be more likely to return because they felt very welcome there. So, like, I don't know. I just think that's awesome to do. Most underrated driver of all time. I actually think Pearson's not underrated, dude. Everybody, we know Pearson's good, unless you're talking about a different Pearson than David. But I'm torn. I'm torn in the NASCAR world anyway, because I feel like a lot of the invaders, like Montoya and Ambrose, I think those guys were underrated a lot because their equipment was not as good as they made it look at times. I think especially in Ambrose's case. But they're not underrated in general, so I think I don't know that they're a fair answer. But honestly, specifically NASCAR world, again, I might be a little biased on this, but I think Jamie McMurray. I think Jamie McMurray was such a better driver than people gave him credit for. He was... I don't think people realized how bad his equipment was. I'm talking most of his career, other than maybe the very beginning of his Cup career. I don't think people realize how bad that equipment was until you look at other good drivers that drove that equipment after or before Jamie did and saw how their results were in that same stuff. So, I don't know. I think Jamie was super underrated, in my opinion. Who else? Because that's Jamie's top of my list. I know I have some older examples, and my brain's like falling off the radar here. I don't know, because the other ones I'm thinking of are guys that, like, I don't think they were underrated at the time. They're just underrated by the, I'm not going to say ignorance, but lack of exposure from newer fans. So Morgan Shepherd was really good in the early 90s, late 80s. But if you ask anybody who got into NASCAR in the early 2000s or late 90s, they would not say that they wouldn't say that Morgan was good. You know what I mean? But I think he was pretty darn good back in the day. Clint Bowyer, I mean, if that's yours, that's fine. But I don't think he's that underrated. Another one I'm completely biased on is Dave Blaney. I don't think he ever got a fair shot. And actually, Boyer's part of my argument for that. Excuse me. Now, the results, I can't say the race results reflect this, but if you go back and you watch some races when Dave Blaney was getting the 07 car ready for Bowyer to take over, like, they wanted to keep Bowyer and Busch or whatever a little longer, nationwide, whatever it was at the time, and they had Dave Blaney in that car for that year and then put Bowyer in it the next year. When Blaney drove the 07 car, if you watch those races back, he was really carrying that car a lot. Like most races, he was running really well with it. They didn't finish well all the time, but I think Blaney was doing a lot of work building that team up for Bowyer. And I think a lot of Bowyer's, early success or whatever in Cup is due in part to Dave Blaney. And I think if Dave stayed in that car, if he wasn't prepping it for Bowyer but for himself for the second season, like 2 seasons in it, I think his second season would have been really good. But I'm biased because I grew up a Jeff Gordon fan, and Dave Blaney was my underdog driver for all of his career. So I can't say that with super confidence that I'm not being biased. Um, there's definitely more underrated drivers. I'm trying to who right now. Actually, this is good. Of the current Cup roster, what driver is underrated and would probably be amazing in the right equipment? Oh man, I'm trying to think. Because my mind goes to someone like Todd Gilliland or um, Michael McDowell, but I feel like there's a better answer than those two that is eluding my mind at the moment. Oh, actually, another one back more to this era, well, a little later than this era. Johnny Benson, I think, was underrated. He's another one that, man, he just never quite had a really good team other than the brief, like, chunk of time that he was in the 10 car as a Pontiac. That was really starting to ramp up. Um, the 2003 time for that team. But I think Johnny Benson would have been another, or is another one that like was underrated. Um, there's definitely more. There's so many. I think a lot of people take for granted how skilled the entire Cup field is. It's so easy to watch a Cup race and be like, what the heck is John Hunter Nemechek doing out here? What's Noah Gragson doing? Whoever. Like, name drivers that are running around 30th, and just be like, they don't even belong out there. It's like, it's really easy to do that. But if you look at them in other, just a division or two lower, and how successful they could be or would be if they ran a division or two lower, and how much more difficult the Cup level is, like, I think that's when you realize that pretty much anybody that is quickly labeled as not fast that's in the Cup Series is not 100%, but most of the people in the Cup Series that are labeled as not good are underrated. And a lot of times it's the equipment. Um, it's tough to say. You're agreeing on Benson in the 2000s, yeah. Dude, I'm still, as much as me and many other people are salty and still sad that Mark Martin didn't win that 500 that we talked about earlier. I'm sad that Reddick didn't win the Bristol Dirt Race that Briscoe took him out and Kyle Busch won. I'm sad that Johnny Benson lost that Daytona 500 where he didn't have a sponsor. He was leading as a Pontiac and had 3 or 4 Fords behind him with a few laps to go. And I still think if that late caution and restart didn't happen, I think Benson holds on. The only reason they got him, in my opinion, was because that late caution got them synced up, gave them time to like radio communicate whatever between their spotters or crew chiefs, whoever, to like, hey, let's get this Pontiac out of here and race between us. I feel like that happened potentially, and we don't know about it. And that led to them forming up. Even if the words weren't said, even if that didn't happen to that extent, I think it happened on track anyway. And Benson, when he lost the lead to Jarrett, he just kind of got a little. The handling got away from him just a little bit for one corner when Jarrett had set up a run, and that was it. But I think if he doesn't lose the lead in that corner, I think he wins it. And I think if that yellow doesn't come out prior, that kind of set that back up, I think he wins it. You're mostly a Harvick fan. You don't. Oh gosh, you don't have a driver now. Oh, Brett Bodine. I went to get off the wall and he was right there. Yeah, like I said, I was a Gordon fan for a long time. I was, speaking of, here he goes. Or he's trying to go. This is my whole life. I was a Gordon fan, and then Dave Blaney was my underdog driver. And then like I kind of was rooting for Larson a little bit, but I wasn't like hard committed to rooting for him, and I just kind of I gravitated towards Ryan Blaney through Dave Blaney, and I honestly I think Ryan has the best personality of anybody in this. Not to say anything negative about anybody's personality, but he has the what seems like the most funny personality, um, and on race day the most serious, intense. He gets upset really as a short fuse. Like he has that racer mentality during the race, and then outside of the track, he's the chillest dude, and I really like that. So that's why I root for Ryan. And if you haven't seen, by the way, if you guys don't know on YouTube, Ryan did a couple of things. He's been doing a couple of things with NASCAR. I'm not too big a fan of his current YouTube series. I mean, I enjoy it enough, but where he takes a celebrity in his race car around Indy and does a couple little questions while driving with them. I don't know. I feel like that's not that could use some work. But he went look this up. He did an undercover joke thing where he dressed up as a really old guy and acted like he was British and took a tour of the Penske shop, and the staff didn't know that was giving the tour or anything, and the fans that were there didn't know. And even like right at the beginning, he was talking to a Blaney fan wearing a Blaney shirt, and that guy had no freaking idea. It was so funny, dude. You have to look that up if you've not seen that video. My God, we were losing ground. My right front's dead. Yeah, if you've not seen that, please look that up. Do yourself the favor right after this stream or whenever. Just like check that out because it was so funny. Yeah, I think I'm heating up. It's not hot. Well, why am I so tight then? I got up to 21st, and then we kind of plateaued for a while, and now I've just been struggling to do anything to kick my butt here. I've only got a few laps left here, but I sent it on the bottom. Yeah, I don't have the mid-corner grip to get after like they are. Truex and Boyer personality. You know what? Honestly, though, I don't know. Boyer rubbed me the wrong way a lot with his humor. I mean, he's funny like most of the time and enjoyable most of the time, but I don't know. Truex, I think, was too soft spoken. Truex is hilarious. He's a fun person and fun personality from what I've seen, but he's like Matt Kenseth funny to some regard. He's like soft spoken funny, which I appreciate just as much, but it's not as noticeable. There's one, I don't remember what the event was called and whether it was preseason or postseason or like at the beginning of the chase or something one of the years. But I think it was beginning of the chase or end of the chase one of the years. They had interviews or like a group panel with all the drivers in the chase answering questions of fans and chit-chatting with the show host and whatever. And every time, like, not at the right time, not every time, Matt Kenseth at the right moments just would make one little small comment, to make a joke, and it was so funny. He was just nailing everybody with all his little comments. I don't know what year it was or anything. Like, oh gosh, I really can't remember. We lost the spot to Spencer right at the end. The other Pennsylvania driver. Oh man, but yeah, no. Try to look that up too. That was really funny. All right, so 28th, we were up to 21st from the back, or from almost all the way at the back, and then we faded at the end. I mean, oh yeah, that's why. Yeah, that right front was dead. It wasn't hot though, but it was dead, which is weird because most tracks it's been, pretty equivalent. All right, well that concludes our season. Like when they were starting in Cup and racing in Busch, haven't kept up with NASCAR since 23. Yeah, that's fair. You and a lot of people. So our final points position officially is 29th. Unofficially, we would have been ahead of Spencer if I ran that one event out where I was like, I I think it was like 28th or something, and I had 5 seconds ahead of me, 5 seconds behind me, and it was going to be a boring stream, so I bailed early. And I think there was more than one race where I did that, but I was further back on the other one. So definitely would have been, unofficially would have been 28th. Maybe unofficially would have been 27th, but that would have been it. We won 3 races, which was our only top 5, so we didn't top 5 without winning. We had 3 more top 10s and 3 poles, and more DNFs than you could shake a stick at that they don't show you. So Jeremy Mayfield last in points, so that's why I said his top 20 or running around 20th there was impressive for him. Earnhardt is the champ with 11 wins. No freaking surprise if you have 11 wins on the championship. He did have some DNFs and problems, including with us. Mark Martin second, Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvin, Terry Labonte. That's the top 5 in points. You can see the rest. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to, let me drop this for a second. I need to edit a file or two. And then we're going to run our shortened season here. So, okay, let's call that one this and that one this. And then let me fire up and see if that changed the schedule. Hopefully. Oh, this is gonna, hang on. I don't know where that saves, actually. Well, I'm officially gonna lose our season, which is fine. Okay, so this worked. This is set up. Let me bring the screen back to where it was. I'm not going to bring Moza back up because we're just doing this to see what the championship screen's like. But let me shorten the race up. Is that realism? Yes. It's a weird spot to put that. A 1% race. It's going to be 5 laps then. That's kind of fun. All right, so we're going to qualify, hopefully on pole. Load the actual queue set and see if we can qualify well. Honestly, most weeks, the racing's been really good this year. There's just a couple tracks that are an exception to the rule. So, like, now is not a bad time to get back into NASCAR, I'll be honest with you. But you have to maybe look up a couple interviews or watch a couple races and find a driver that you at least have some interest in to root for. Because I feel like it's hard to get into racing if you have nobody to root for. This gearing seems like it's wrong for qualifying. I know it's shorter gearing to push the issue, but it's also loose as heck out. I know it looked like I was tight there, but that's because if I gave it more wheel, it would have kicked. All right, if I don't qualify up front, we're going to have to actually lengthen the race and then come through the field. Yeah, okay. Well, let's not save the race weekend. Let's lengthen it. I could just lower the... this is going to be tough. Let's turn car damage off. Hi, Kitten. Are you going to appear on the stream? Are you? Your tail's going to appear on stream, maybe. Nope, you're still, like, she's right here. All right, you're not allowed there, so now you're going to appear on stream. Say hello to the world, and don't bite me, because that'd be cool. You don't even want to, you want to just get down now. Okay, bye. Thanks for stopping in. All right, let's run that. Let's just do the A setup. I think I could qualify just as good in the A setup. I don't know what lap I turned, but we'll try to find out here. All right, so we're gonna do one quick race. Hopefully win it. Without too much issue. We'll restart if we have to or whatever. But just to see what the championship winning screen looks like in this game. And after that, that'll be our stream, and that will be the end of NASCAR Racing 1. content for potentially forever. Who knows? Cat, can you not? Thank you. You're making this really hard to qualify right now. She's going into late night psycho mode, as they do. If you have a cat, you know. Or, well, let me rephrase that. If you've had a kitten, you know. If you had a cat that was older by the time you knew them, then maybe not. And they still have their psycho modes, but not as often. Okay, yeah, I feel like I qualified about the same. Alright, let's just get to the front. Oh, 30 laps, that's tons of time. So you guys really not great here. Yeah. They just hold each other up early on and in a pack. And they randomly run next to the wall here. Oh yeah, I gotta watch the loose out a little bit. And they run really slow on straightaways a lot. I mean, I think the lawsuit and Reddick's season start are not related. I'm one of the few people that's on that side of that fence. But I also know one person who works at 2311, and I know how that team, I think, is just ahead of the curve on their approach and everything. And at the beginning of the season, they were ahead of the curve on their execution. I don't think it's anything other than that. Well, I mean, the drivers are talented. I mean, some of them have had some bad luck, but I think their team's really talented across the board pretty much. So that, I don't think that's to do with the lawsuit. I mean, you look before the lawsuit, they had competitive stuff anyway. I do think the Toyotas have a bit of an advantage at not everywhere, but in most cases this year, I think they've had a bit of an advantage. So that's been something. I've been really enjoying, by the way, I've quickly become an SVG fan. I forgot to mention I was an Ambrose fan as well. When Ambrose was in Cup, he was my favorite underdog. Who I don't think was technically... I mean, he was only an underdog as in new to the series, but I think he was way better than his equipment. But we talked about that a little bit already. And by the way, anybody comparing SVG to Ambrose, I don't think it's a fair comparison in the sake of SVG's equipment, I think, is better than what Ambrose's equipment was, first off. Like, at any point of Ambrose's time in Cup. Second, they only ran 2 road courses a year when Ambrose was in Cup. I don't know how many were on the schedule this year, but also, you know, street courses versus road courses. If they had street courses back when Ambrose was running, he would have probably dominated those as well. The other factor, there's a really good Jeff Gordon interview. They did a tire test, I think at Watkins Glen, Jeff Gordon and Marcus Ambrose, and they got it approved by all the people they needed to swap rides for the test, just to see what they could learn, also just for fun, whatever. And Gordon said that it's Ambrose and not the car that makes him good at road courses, and that he's out driving his equipment, because Gordon said Ambrose got in my car and went very fast, like faster than me, and Gordon got in Ambrose's car and he said I went very slow. So if Jeff Gordon says that Ambrose was faster in his equipment, then like there's, you know, he's not gonna just say that in a test like that without it being true. So I think that's also a big factor, that to make that it's an unfair comparison. You heard that each year they push a different manufacturer more. I heard that from who though? Like, you can't just believe the amount of conspiracy theories going around every week. in NASCAR is nuts. It's you can't. You can't go off of that. Sorry. It frustrates me how much stuff people spread with no evidence and post on Facebook because they read it on a different Facebook page, and they share a post, and it's like, that post is already proven false and you didn't even Google it. Like, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying people in general. I'm disappointed and frustrated with, I was the most gullible person as a kid, and through my teen years and into my 20s. For a lot of it, I was very gullible. But I also, because of that, I started researching things more before believing them. And, like, I feel like everybody should. Like, these days, years ago, it was tough to research some stuff or fact check things, so you just kind of asked other people that you thought might know, and whatever they said you went off of. But now, you can look up so much stuff, and if you might have to filter a little bit through sites that don't have info to back up their claim. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of news sites, official fancy, news places that post things that they don't really. They just reposted a different thing, and they quote some other article that's fake, and they're like, oh, this is where our source is. Well, that source didn't post an actual source, so you're sourcing someone without sources, which means the information doesn't have any real backing. Like, that happens all the time. So I don't know, a little bit of Googling, a little bit of reading, depending on the topic, on whether it's worth bothering. And I think you could find out the truth pretty quickly behind stuff. But something like that, like, oh, NASCAR pushing a different manufacturer every year. How do you rig racing to that extent? How would you rig it to that extent to where no driver has ever made the claim of, oh, NASCAR told us, like, or let us get away with this, that, or the other thing. They totally found it, and they let us cheat with this or that or what. Like, that stuff would get out eventually. So I'd big time press X the doubt on all that stuff, because it'd be too much to fake. It'd be too much to rig that sort of level of deception and manipulation. How to allow certain modifications teams, but that team would know about it. So if Toyota, if NASCAR allows modifications that allow, let's say, Toyota for this year to perform higher, perform better, then 2, 3, 4 years from now, when NASCAR picks a different manufacturer to give this advantage to, according to the claim you heard, then Toyota would know it, or at least some of the people at some of the teams, Toyota teams, would know it, and they would out NASCAR and be like, look, they gave us this unfair advantage before, now they're giving this unfair advantage to Ford, now blah, blah, blah. Like, that would come out so fast. As soon as they're not getting it, they would be outing them so freaking quickly. So, I mean, like, I don't believe it. There's too many people getting paid too much money to work on equipment, research, to do all the things that teams do for NASCAR to pull something like that. And they don't need to. Racing, for how long, the tighter your rules are and the closer your rules are from one team to another, and the more, like, the whole point of stock, it's not about being street stock anymore. It hasn't been for a long time. It's about stock as in everybody's got just about the same equipment is what the actual goal of stock racing is now. Do they meet it? Not really. Not totally. But I think they're closer now than they've been in a long time. But that's what stock car racing is supposed to be now, is equal competition. So, and if you, as someone who's raced in real life, the closer we are with cars, the more the driver shines, and the more the drivers can shine, the more entertaining the racing is. The more that you can maneuver your vehicles, the more that drivers can do behind the wheel, the more entertaining the racing is. Simple as that. It's so you don't need to give XYZ manufacturer an advantage. And NASCAR's got deep enough pockets. They're not worried about, like, if you're worried that, oh, a certain manufacturer is paying them for an advantage, or you know, like any of this shady stuff, that's that's not happening either, because they got it. Like, how do you bribe the rich with money? You don't. You can't. They're already rich. They don't care. Your money doesn't. They don't need it. They might want it. They don't need it to the point where they're going to get desperate about it. So that's out the window too. So I don't know. It's a good topic. It's fair. Like, it's fair to bring up, but is not needed, or not that it's not needed. It's not. I don't believe it. is I guess where I stand. And we are one car away from lapping the entire field. This is why I upped the percentage for the second Martinsville race, because at 100% Martinsville, they are really slow here, because we are just going to fall short of lapping the entire field from a 20-something starting position in a 30-lap race. And somehow I still lost that race because we wrecked and lost both front wheels and couldn't get back to our pit stall. All right, so we gotta wait for everybody to finish. So we're gonna follow Ken Schrader around, make sure he takes the checker here, and everybody takes the checkered, and then we'll finish the race and we'll see. I don't know if the championship screen will show now or when we hop out of the track. Well, no, because when you hop out of the track, no, when we hop out now is when it shows the race winning screen. So we'll see. Okay, race winning screen we've seen. It's victory lane, but with the Winston Cup trophy. Is that the only difference? I'd have to compare. I think it's literally just him holding up the Winston trophy. Wait. Is the victory lane music the same? I don't think I turned it up last time, so I don't know. That's a bop too. Why is the music so good in this? Wow. Well, anticlimactic or exciting, I don't know. This is the championship screen for this game. It still has the scary face for the driver and a couple scary faces in the background too. Some good ones, some not. I don't blame him. Art's hard, dude. I'm terrible at art. I know I paint cars for the modded stuff, but it's making people and things from scratch. I'm not good at that. Well, this has been NASCAR Racing 1. Next stream, I am probably going to do some Thunder stuff in between this and the next old NASCAR stuff. So probably Thunder stuff next weekend. Beyond that, not sure. Question mark here and there as to when I'm going to get to other stuff. But I'll definitely be back with more, just something, more racing. And I do want to return to NASCAR Racing 2 and 3 and so on. As I've said on my other streams, I never played NASCAR 3 or 4 when they came out. I played 3 with mods a few years back. I don't think I ever touched 4. I own 2002 and 2003, obviously. 2002 I didn't play much, though, because I got it not right when it came out. I got it a little later. And then once 03 came out and it's like, oh, this is the last one, probably, I bought it and immediately and got into online racing a year later, and that was that. So I didn't touch 02 much. So that one's a little fuzzy in my memory too. So I do want to return to those titles and play through them, or play a season in each of them at least. With the exception of NASCAR Racing 2 versus NASCAR 99 versus now the AC Racing NASCAR Racing Classic version. They're kind of all the same game under the hood. So I'm gonna at least do Cup in one of them, and then maybe I'll do trucks in the 99 version, or Bush, or maybe a little of both. I don't know. We'll see. What seems fun. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys tuning in that did, especially everybody that was live. Anybody that's watching after the fact, I appreciate both you guys, all you guys and girls and whoever. Um, but this has been NASCAR Racing 1, and let me just make sure there's no other screen. Oh, there is another screen. Hot dang, I'm glad I hit that button before I ended the stream, because that's pretty sick. Okay, that's less anticlimactic than the same victory lane with the trophy swapped in. And look at the paint scheme. They kind of scuffed out the car number on the door, which I think it was 00 or 0, or maybe just single 0, I think early in the game, and then some of the betas, and then they changed it to 94, although it looks like a 94 here. But I also feel like, was it the Europe release, it was a 0, so maybe that's why I don't know. I feel like it was still 0 in some release somewhere. I don't know. This game had like 13 different releases, believe it or not, over the years, or something close to that. But yeah, so that's a fun screen I didn't know existed, and you guys may have probably also didn't, and now we do. I don't know about the cloud work in the background. That's a little bit something, but I don't know. That's pretty neat. The NASCAR banner, that's definitely not to scale. That banner in the background, there's no way that fits perfectly. They chopped half and split it, I think. That's cool. That's pretty neat. I like that. Okay, and that's the final championship screen. Well, that's what winning a championship looks like in this game. Not that I did it legit, but I wanted to just experience that with you guys, because I've definitely never seen that screen. I didn't know that was what it was for this game. And we're gonna do that for all of them. We're gonna play a season, and then do a one race. See, if I don't win the championship through the regular season, which is probably going to be the case for a lot of them, because I'm going to run 100% difficulty and default setups. And that combination, 100% difficulty, default setups, and only restarting at like the very beginning of a race, that's going to make for like it's unlikely that I will win the championship. So don't get your hopes up. Regardless of how good or bad I am at other sims, and have been in the past. Like, I may have been in the Coke series for 8 years. That doesn't mean I'm gonna go out here and beat AI on old ass games, with default sets and 100 difficulty. But regardless, this has been fun. I had a blast doing this. It was a bit of a trip down memory lane. It was a bit of misremembering NASCAR 1 versus 2, but this was pretty cool. I had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we'll see you next weekend, hopefully, if I don't have anything otherwise planned. I should be on for playing Thunder